Like them apples, huh? Welcome, everyone, to episode 189 of the F and Marks podcast.
I'm Jay.
And I am the brainless one.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you, Jay, I mean, we got a lot to get into this week. I cannot believe how much shit we have to discuss this week, just in like 8 days away from last episode.
Yeah, but we're not going to be able to discuss everything because otherwise we'll be going till WrestleMania 38.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I love that joke. It's going to be a sad day when that joke finally is over and done with.
Take Your Pants Off has joined our... I wonder if Take Your Pants Off knows Don't Eat Brown Snow. I think that would be a great combination of followers. So,
but, yeah, we got, I mean, like we said, we got a lot to get into today. I mean, we had TakeOver last Saturday, I'm sorry. No, that was quick. Way to pronounce yourself. We had TakeOver last Saturday. We had SummerSlam last Sunday. A few surprises from both shows. Same thing. Raw, we had a couple of surprises. SmackDown, we had some surprises.
We have a new TNT champion.
We also have new NXT Tag Team Champions. We also we have Payback tonight, and it's amazing how a couple of years ago, with back when they had the brand split and it was like Raw had their own pay-per-views and SmackDown had their own pay-per-views, and it seemed like on a week-to-week basis it was like we were doing predictions for one show, then we were doing the fallout from the next one, and then the next week we're doing predictions again, and it was too much.
And now, at least right now, we're getting into that territory, but I think this is just a temporary thing. My God, like next week, next week is
all of us next week. Yeah.
It's like, damn, a lot of wrestling, man.
Could you imagine if we were predicting for like New Japan and all that shit too? I mean, we wouldn't have time to do anything. All we do is prediction shows every week.
Yeah. So. Anyway, thank you for tuning in this week. Make sure you like and share and all that stuff out on social media, and we'll do the same back for you guys. So,
yep. So if you want, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Periscope, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into TakeOver from last week.
Sure. TakeOver is never a letdown. It was a good show, and I'm just it had some I feel bad at least for the aftermath with Kerry and Kross.
Yeah,
with what happened with that, but Kross did defeat Keith Lee and became the new NXT champion. You can tell during the match that he got hurt. Finished off the match. It was a heck of a match. Like, I enjoyed big guy matches. This was like another brilliant big guy match by Keith Lee.
Those are the type of the big guy matches are the ones that the legendary Jim Ross would say it's a slobber knocker.
Right.
And that's exactly what it was. Keith Lee and Karrion Kross both delivered. They're both going to be stars for a long time. Keith Lee. A lot of people were kind of wondering why they would even think about taking the title off of Keith Lee.
And if you watched our show last week, you would have seen one of the reasons possibly that he would lose the title. And guess what?
Very true.
It happened.
It did happen. Shit happens, pal. But I'll tell you right now, they really got themselves a stud in freaking Karrion Kross.
But unfortunately, he is now on the shelf for several months. Like, separated shoulders, nothing to sneeze at, especially if you're a professional wrestler. Like, you have to have surgery to get that properly corrected, and he'll be out for a little while. And he kind of cut a promo on NXT this week where he was like, all right, well, they're not going to medically clear me to wrestle. Whoever has this title when I come back, you better watch out.
And the interesting thing about a separated shoulder is what you're doing is you're dislocating it from the socket. And when you do that, the ligaments that are inside your shoulder area all get expanded out. And then when they put your shoulder back into place, your tendons still kind of are worn and everything. So you need to properly have surgery to get it put back in, because yes, you could pop your shoulder back into place, but you would be very vulnerable to another injury of the same magnitude if you were to do that.
I don't know why the comments aren't showing up on Facebook, but
Hold on.
Don't Eat Brown Snow is there. And Don't Eat Brown Snow, yes, I tried that already.
Oh, shit. Okay.
You know what Don't Eat Brown Snow said?
Omega?
He did say Omega. Yes. Omega for the F and Marks Hall of Fame, he said. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want people ranked number 13 in the world as a wrestler in my Hall of Fame.
Right. Nice, Tommy. Thanks for tuning in, man.
So, it's unfortunate what happened with Karrion Kross. I mean, he had a very bright future.
He still has a bright future.
It's an unfortunate circumstance with an injury, especially like an injury like that is going to put you on the shelf for a long time. I feel for Karrion Kross. That was them kind of like, all right, here, we're going to do what we're going to do with Keith Lee moving to the main roster because we think that he could do better on the main roster than he would down here. So we're giving you the reins. The reins. Because when you're the lead guy, you get the reins. Get it?
Yeah, right.
He gets the reins.
You're terrible. You're terrible.
Well, I've been terrible for 189 episodes, so why be different today?
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate, and I'm hoping for a speedy recovery. I'm hoping to see Karrion Kross back for NXT Takeover WrestleMania weekend. That would be awesome to see something like that.
Yeah, that would be good.
But I mean, to go into what we were saying, Keith Lee did debut this week on Monday Night Raw, to the chagrin of a lot of people, not because he was on the main roster. And yes, I understand that Vince McMahon is the king of burying people from NXT when they get to the main roster, but mainly because of the fact that nobody was expecting Keith Lee, who had the badass entrance, to have a different entrance song, and then wear an attire that looked like he was wearing a skirt.
Now, the reason for his music change is specifically because WWE is now no longer using CFO for their music. And CFO owns 50% of the like publishing rights to those songs. So if WWE uses them, guess what? They have to give CFO money. So that is why Keith Lee has new music. Supposedly with the new group they're working with for music, that they're going to have a new, better piece of music. But it's like, if you want this dude to have a proper debut, like, don't give him generic music and crappy gear to go out to. Come on.
I mean, I can understand the music situation. I do get that. And it's like, I still remember when Daniel Bryan debuted 10 years ago, and he even cut the promo when he was feuding with The Miz for the U.S. title, and he was like, I'm not you, Miz. I come out to generic wrestling, generic rock music as my entrance song. And I was like, oh, shit. Daniel Bryan brought it up, what everybody's thinking and everything. And, obviously, he went with Flight with a Valkyrie, and obviously that's turned into wonderful stuff. But, a lot of times that's how it is. Like, a lot of these wrestlers get those generic entrance songs to come out to unless they have something really good. It's weird. The comment actually popped up, Jay.
Oh, sweet. All right.
But it's just going to be interesting to see, what happens with the Keith Lee. I have a lot of faith. They have a lot of faith in Keith Lee. Obviously, they didn't just bring him up to the main roster just for the sake of bringing him up to the main roster, unless it's Vince McMahon. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. He got into a match with Randy Orton on Monday, and believe me, it's like being called up to the major leagues, and you're going up against. What would be a good example? Like, who would be like the baseball pitching wise equivalent of like Randy Orton? We had to put like somebody out there, like Greg Maddux, a guy who
Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson. Why? Because his name is Randy. Is that why you did that?
That's partially why I did it. But
because of the fact that he's the Viper and Randy Johnson played for the Diamondbacks, so they have that snake connection to him.
See,
I mean, Randy Orton.
So many things.
Randy Orton does not look like he saved up all of his Marlboro points to win a pool table from Marlboro.com.
I would disagree with that.
Fair enough.
I mean, Orton has not killed a bird though yet that we know of. He just burned Sister Abigail. Anyway, so Keith Lee and Randy Orton. I mean, it's good to put them in against somebody like that.
Those are good ones too, Tommy.
To make Keith Lee seem like a big deal, but this played into like their storyline for a bit. But we did have a question come up. What do we think about Roman Reigns' heel turn and him being put into a title match immediately?
Okay. So I thought we were going to save this until a little bit later on in the podcast, but you know what? Fuck it. It's already been brought up, so let's talk about this. On SummerSlam this past Sunday, we got a returning Roman Reigns that nobody saw happening. Obviously, when the fans do certain things and there's certain, you could just tell. Like, there's always a way that you know that somebody's going to come out from nowhere and attack somebody, and nobody knew it was Roman Reigns. Spoiler alert, Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, won the championship from Braun Strowman at SummerSlam this past Sunday.
Yep.
And after the match, Roman Reigns came out there and speared The Fiend, kind of sporting new teeth, which was kind of surprising to me that he came out with new teeth. But he came out with that. He went out of the ring and speared Braun Strowman, and then he went in the ring and speared freaking
Strowman.
Bray Wyatt again. And I thought it was interesting about that whole situation, and I was like, because somebody was like, "Oh my God, he turned heel," and I'm like, "Did he really turn heel?" And then I was like, "I can see it now," because he stood in the corner, and what he used to do before he hit the spear, he would go, and then he would punch the ground and then spear. He didn't do that. He didn't do any of the theatrics. He just speared him, and I thought it was very interesting. And you definitely would pick up on this now as opposed to when the fans are there. But there was a point where he went to Bray Wyatt and he goes, "You're not a star. You're just a freak with a mask on." And I was like, holy shit. Oh, man. So to actually answer the question, this is awesome. I love the fact that Roman Reigns is heel Roman. I think he's better suited to be a heel. He's got the look. He really could just hit the attitude about him. He's just better suited to be like a silent assassin, kind of like Brock Lesnar was. Where Brock Lesnar used to go out there and just beat the shit out of people, and he would have somebody out there to speak for him. And this is definitely a step in the right direction. Now, in regards to the title match, it's like, yes, I get it. He was supposed to get the title match at WrestleMania. He opted out, like his name was David Price, and didn't want to take part in WrestleMania because of the coronavirus. And I get it. He has a very weak immune system. I totally understand that he didn't want to be there because, I mean, hell, I give him a pass for that.
And supposedly Roman was more concerned actually with his two newborn sons or two newborn kids than he was for himself. Roman was like, "Oh, I think they'll be, I'll be fine, but I don't want to bring it home to my newborns." So,
and I get that. I have no issue with something like that. And then him coming back, and then it's like the following week from him returning, he gets a title shot. I think that's a little obscure or absurd. I should say
it's absurd.
It's absurd just throw him in there. It was kind of like my whole gripe that I had with when they were deciding between the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship heading into WrestleMania, where it's like with the WWE title, Drew McIntyre beat 29 other people to win the Royal Rumble, to have the right to fight Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. And then it's like Goldberg's out there and Roman Reigns is like, "I'm next." And I'm like, come on, man. He didn't win a fucking match.
Yes, he did. He beat Baron Corbin. He had a long feud with Baron Corbin and not had a title match in a long time. Goldberg could have said no. He didn't, but I was okay with that. I know you weren't, but
I just feel like he should have won some kind of a number one contenders
He
match.
beat the King. You said how much you love King of the Ring and how it's a big deal. He beat the King.
I only do that just so I can talk up Sheamus like he is God, and you know that. You and I both know that the King of the Ring now is an absolute fucking joke.
Corbin is the first King in a while to not lose every match. He loses a lot of matches, but not every match. And he's pretty damn annoying. It would have been better if he would have been King with an audience there the whole time. But anyway, Roman Reigns, I like the whole heel turn. I love the reveal of Paul Heyman to be his counselor.
Spoiler alert.
It was wonderfully orchestrated. Did not seeing that coming. The second he said, "That's not a prediction, that's a spoiler," I'm like, and then when the camera starts going out, I'm like, Heyman's there. It was very impressive. I liked how they did that, and I don't know. I can't accurately say whether or not Roman will be a better heel than he is a face, because guess what? We've never really seen heel Roman talk. When the Shield was heel, that was when Roman Reigns said, "I'm Roman Reigns."
Believe that.
And that was all he said.
Yeah.
So we've never seen him as a true heel since then. So, but I'm looking forward to see what they come up with for him. The fact that Paul Heyman can be his mouthpiece will definitely help him in that direction, and we'll see how that goes. But it's stupid that he's getting a title match immediately. It just all right, well, Fiend and Strowman are in this blood feud. All right, they go against each other again. But it seems like the plan right now, based off of what we heard on SmackDown, and spoiler alert for my prediction, Roman Reigns is going to win the title. Because he says, this isn't a prediction, this is a spoiler. Basically every time Paul Heyman said that, except for Royal Rumble with Brock Lesnar, it's come true. So, one thing that I am not 100% clear at for the match tonight during Triple Threat is the Fiend showing up, or is Bray Wyatt? Because I've seen something say Bray Wyatt, but on the posters I see the Fiend. Not sure which one's showing up, but that is the person that should not be taking the pinfall.
Is it possible that we see Husky Harris tonight?
Yes, with Wade Barrett.
I would. Oh my God. I mean, there's just so much shit that happened in wrestling.
So speaking of which, Wade Barrett did show up on NXT this week as an announcer.
And it was announced that this coming Tuesday, because they're moving NXT to Tuesday for the next couple of weeks, because I think it's either the NBA or the NHL playoffs has kind of superseded NXT out of their spot on Wednesdays. So he will actually be on commentary for this Tuesday show. And after his appearance on Wednesday, because a lot of people are like, was this a one-off thing? Is Wade Barrett back? Wade Barrett is now officially no longer part of the WWE alumni page, and Wade Barrett is now officially on the roster for NXT. Does this mean he's going to stick strictly to broadcasting? Does this mean that he's going to eventually get back? I hope to God he gets back in the ring. Yeah. Wade Barrett was one of my favorites. I was a huge fan of his. He had something. There was just something about him, just the way he was when he was part of that NXT 10 years ago, when he was the leader of the Nexus and everything.
Well, and when he was Bad News Barrett, when that thing was starting to get over, it's like they cut the legs out from underneath him, which I was like, dude, this thing's getting over, and now you're not letting him do this? Mm-hmm. Come on. It was one of the most hilariously annoying things. Like having
the large podium,
the
gavel,
and then with the laugh beforehand, it was perfect. It really was. So, and Stu Bennett, aka Wade Barrett, has kind of said I have not retired from in-ring competition, but the right storyline needs to produce itself in front of me. is like, I lost my love for the business because of what happened to me in WWE. I'm enjoying broadcasting right now. So the fact that I'm sure he was not getting paid anymore from NWA, he was like, well, I need a gig. And WWE is a good spot for him to land, and I'd love to see him jump back in the ring. Bray Wyatt even said, like, teased a Nexus reunion, and Wade Barrett kind of said, like, all right, well, that's only if I'm still the leader of this thing.
Which would be funny because the last remaining member of the Nexus that they had on the main roster was released in April, had a match, and is now fighting in TNA.
Well,
it's like, oh, what are you going to do? Bring back Michael Tarver? Michael Tarver's like 137 years old.
I mean, technically, Daniel Bryan was part of the Nexus, even though he got fired the first week. And he's still around.
I'll tell you right now, I don't see Ryback coming back to WWE though.
Nor I. And I think the feeling's mutual.
And Darren Young's about to make his New Japan debut. Justin Gabriel, I'm pretty sure, is in Ring of Honor or Impact or something like that. Am I forgetting somebody?
Your favorite. He's still in WWE.
He's still a WWE employee. You're right. David Otunga has nothing better going on because nobody really gives a shit about David Otunga. He should have just stuck to law. He's actually a really good defense lawyer. If I ever needed him to get me out of the case, I would.
Well, I think he's hired by WWE to be a lawyer and a pre-show commentator. He's actually somewhat decent at the pre-show commentator, but man, when he was at the commentary desk, holy crap! I think my dog might have been better than he was in commentary. My God, he didn't know what the heck was going on, and he was terrible. Yeah. Chris Brown saying, I remember pissing off Otunga at a house show 5 years ago. I can only imagine. It must have been brilliant.
I don't know if it's even worse than what I did to Goldust, and he gave me the finger. I'm not going to repeat what I said to him, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah?
Anyway, NXT, so we had Keith Lee, and circling back to NXT.
Yeah, circling back to TakeOver. All right, so, yeah. Boom, boom.
It's one of those few times, though, that when we go off topic, it was actually things we were going to talk about anyway.
They all like together.
So that kind of worked in. That's perfect. I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah. All right, and we have a new North American champion in Damian Priest, who won the ladder match.
Called it.
So did I.
Yeah, but I'm celebrating for me because I called it.
I know, but when you do that stuff, you act like you were the only person who did it.
No, I'm just taking.
Yeah.
Gotta
love it.
That's fantastic too.
I was there. I got the ticket.
And I know a lot of people were very much against the Velveteen Dream being in this match because of everything that's gone on, and they're kind of just like sweeping it under the rug, and you're only guilty, you're innocent until proven guilty, and WWE didn't find any wrongdoing, and it's just been a giant mess and everything. I really thought that they were going to put the title on Velveteen Dream. There was part of me that thought that. I was like, the right choice would be Damian Priest. This was his spot. This was his opportunity.
Damian Priest won it.
So. It did. And I'm happy for him. It was a very, very, very well functioning match. I enjoyed every bit of it. And like you said, Damian Priest is victorious.
Well, with these ladder matches, I mean, there have been so many ladder matches at this point. Tables, ladders, and chairs matches and things of that nature.
Stairs matches.
It's really hard for them to come up with new things and be innovative. But, these guys went out there and really, they put their bodies on the line. They put on a good show. And Damian Priest is the right person to win this thing.
Right.
And as I was stating last week during my prediction, this just sets up for Bronson Reed to be the first challenger because Bronson Reed beat him the week before. I thought it was stupid booking to have this man, why are you having him lose? Aren't you trying to build him? I still don't love that idea, but at least it sets up for the next phase of this. So
See, for me, the only person that I would have thought would have been a better NXT North American champion was Dexter Lumis, who got hurt, just in the qualifying match to get into the match itself, which is a shame because I really think that he was going to be money on it. But Damian Priest being the NXT North American champion is something I could definitely get behind. I think that dude's got a very bright future as well, and this is a step in the right direction. So yeah, I was happy for him. I really was.
Michael, we will get to that in a little bit. He's asking if we think that Alexa is going to join the Fiend and help out the Fiend tonight. So, yeah. So,
Tommy, to answer your question about the David Arquette documentary, let's see. What's the best way I could describe this? I would rather climb to the roof of this house, jump off, and land face first on the pavement and survive than have to watch that. I'd rather listen to Susan Wallman sing "Stairway to Heaven"
and the national anthem.
Stop.
Wait. Anyway.
Oh my God! It's Roger Clemens, and he's in George's box. Roger Clemens is back.
Yeah, I was waiting to say that. But yeah. So congratulations to Damian Priest on being the NXT North American champion.
Yeah. Then we had a pre-show match that actually was for the number one contendership for the tag team championships, and Breezango won this match.
They went up against Fantasio de la Fuente, or whatever the hell it's called. The Plaza
Legado del Fantasma.
Plaza del Sol.
And they
where
also
they have the shit tacos. Sorry.
Right. And then they went against
Only Lorcan and
Danny Burch.
1
and 2.
I almost said Only Lorcan and Busick. Wait, they're the same person. I really wanted Lorcan and Burch to win that. I really do. I love Only Lorcan.
Wait, I'm gonna guess who got the right answer? Who got the right answer?
Did you really pick Breezango?
Read it and weep, dude.
Where the hell is this one? Holy shit! There's a J next to Breezango. It made more sense for them to do the Plaza Azteca.
And why did I pick Breezango? Because they were, in my view, the faces in the match. Like Lorcan and Burch are faces, but like as far as people they're trying to build up lately, it was Breezango. Right now, the NXT Tag Team Champions, what were they? Heels.
Goats.
They needed a face team.
Marcel Bartel and Fabian Aichner are goats. Then they're heels. Fabian Aichner is the second greatest Italian wrestler of all time. Don't argue with me.
Since Santino Marella.
Santino Marella is from Canada.
Since Gorilla Monsoon.
It's better than Gorilla Monsoon. Fabian Aichner is the second best Italian wrestler.
Are you saying that Bruno Sammartino
is the greatest Italian wrestler of all time?
Okay.
Yeah, no questions asked. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like when I say, like, if I could pick, like, a city, like all the cities in the country, like, what city would beat the shit out of every other city with their wrestlers? And it's like Pittsburgh.
They got Bruno Sammartino.
They got Bruno Sammartino and Kurt Angle.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to take them. I don't care how many. I don't care that Cleveland.
What about
Cleveland can throw 309 people out there. None of them are Bruno Sammartino or Kurt Angle, because Bruno Sammartino is the greatest wrestler of all time, and Kurt Angle is an Olympic gold medalist who won the gold medal with a broken fucking neck.
And he was the greatest wrestler of his day.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yes.
Should be in my fucking Rushmore, but
there are so many goats.
Yeah, there is.
So,
but I really thought that with the fact that Carlos Escobar was being the NXT Cruiserweight champion, that they were going to put, like, it made sense with freaking Escobar being the Cruiserweight champion. They put the tag team titles on Wild and Mendoza. It would have made that group a lot more powerful. That's the reason why I went with them, because it just made sense, because like you could push these guys. You really proved that your Cruiserweight division isn't a joke like it has been forever. And this was your chance and your opportunity, and you put it on a bunch of dancing fucks. So, the man who pulled off the worst upset in the history of WrestleMania won that match, and spoiler alert, on NXT this week, they became the new tag team champions.
Let's see where they go with them. I mean, there's been a lot of injury stuff that has happened to the Breezango folks, and
Mainly Breezango, or no, wait, no.
mainly Zongo.
No, wait, it's got to be your ball.
So
Yes, Fandango has had some injury issues with concussions and knee problems and all that shit, so I'm curious to see where they go. It's well deserved. Tyler Breeze is one of the most overlooked wrestlers in the business. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that Tyler Breeze won the NXT Tag Team Championships because he actually deserved it.
he was one of the people that helped build NXT. He was never the champion, but he would be in championship matches and have incredible, 4.5, 5-star matches like all the time. And it's like, he helped build that, and he was unique, and he had the whole Prince Study, and he had the selfie stick going live as he was coming down the ring. So there are a lot of unique things about him. I thought he had a raw deal on the main roster, but you know what? He's back down where he should be.
Yep.
And good for him.
I'm happy for him. I really am.
All right. Then we had Finn Balor going against Timothy Thatcher. And we had Finn Balor come out on top. For me, I was a little shocked by this, but with all that ended up happening later on in the night and what happened on Wednesday during NXT, Finn Balor is now going to be part of 4 people who are challenging for the NXT Championship in what's called a Fatal 4-Way 60-minute Iron Man match.
Now, that's because, like Jay said earlier on, Karrion Kross had to relinquish the NXT Championship due to him separating.
We already talked about that.
So William Regal came out this week and announced a Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match to determine the new NXT champion.
We just said that.
And the 4 combatants are, like Jay said, Finn Balor. We also have, not yet, I got to save the best for last. We have Johnny Gargano. Johnny Wrestling is also part of it.
A returning
Tommaso Ciampa. And most importantly, and I cannot stress this enough, Adam Cole, baby! I mean, that's a who's of who's for the NXT. Because you think about it, you have the longest reigning NXT champion of all time in Adam Cole. You have the greatest, in my opinion, NXT champion of all time in Finn Balor. And you have 2 guys who are well-deserving of being in that conversation of the longest and the best, in Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. These are guys who are not strangers to each other. These are guys are going to go out there and put out a fucking match of all matches. Pick a winner. It's hard, isn't it? Because you can give a reasoning for all 4 of them.
I would say the one person I'm like,
Gargano?
Gargano's the one where I'm like, not a chance.
Because he just lost the NXT North American.
And right now he does not feel as hot as like some of the other guys. Ciampa just coming back, and like his last match, he got absolutely obliterated by Karrion Kross. Makes me feel like little to no chance of him winning. Right now, my lean is towards Finn Balor winning this match. And I'll go out and I'm going to say Finn Balor is going to win this match, as much as they could put the title back on Adam Cole, baby! He had a really long run, and he just had, at TakeOver, he had a solid match against Pat McAfee, a guy who is not a professional wrestler, and the fact that he was able to carry him to a good match, and McAfee did not embarrass, professional wrestling or professional wrestlers as a whole, and in large part that's because of Adam Cole, and the fact that Adam Cole was able to have one of those kind of gimmicks, the wrong word, but like having one of those special attraction matches with somebody who is outside of WWE purview, and do a good job. They may reward him for that, but there certainly have been rumblings for a long time that maybe Adam Cole ends up on the main roster. I would say that probably won't happen. My guess is that won't happen now until, maybe after WrestleMania next year. But I'm going to go with Finn Balor still, but I could understand if they put it on Cole.
That's a wonderful prediction, and I wouldn't be surprised or upset if Finn Balor actually won the NXT Championship. But you know me, if I'm going to pick somebody, I'm going to pick somebody, and it's going to be worth my while. And for me, there's nobody better in that company on NXT except for their biggest star, and that is Adam Cole, baby! That's who I'm picking to win the title on Tuesday. You know it's going to work with him, so why the fuck not? Which means you know what that means. WWE is going to put the title on Johnny Gargano. That way Jeff will have a freaking quadruple orgasm.
But it's NXT. It's Triple H, not Vince.
Yes, I understand, but still, I could see a scenario for any of those four. Although those two, I think the two that you and I both picked are the most likely of the four to win the title.
Monsef was asking us to put him in the Hall of Fame. I said maybe at some point we will. Yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, Adam Cole did have a match this past Saturday on TakeOver. He went up against Pat McAfee, the former NFL punter for the Colts, who has kind of made a name for himself with his podcast. He was part of Barstool Sports. Really just kind of and he was doing a lot for WWE. He was part of the NXT pre-shows and everything like that. And he had been building up this storyline with him and Adam Cole. And like what you said, an attraction match between the wrestler and the former NFL player. And I will say this. I am one of the biggest skeptics when it comes to people coming from outside of the wrestling business to, get into the wrestling matches themselves. The most famous for me that comes to mind, and I know you're going to know exactly where I'm going with this.
There's a few of them.
When Lawrence Taylor main evented WrestleMania 11, and I'll tell you, LT held his own in that match against Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah, he wasn't too terribly bad in the ring. And another WrestleMania main event, WrestleMania 1, bringing in Mr. T, who
held his own too.
He didn't do too bad, although Piper was not particularly fond of Mr. T, and thought that he thought it was, putting the thumb in the eye of the boys. Vince bringing in a celebrity to do pro wrestling, but I think long term we figured out that Vince McMahon actually knew what the heck he was doing with WrestleMania, bringing in the celebrities to help boost the profile of the event. As much as the boys in the back were probably like, F this, we're building this on our own. It's like, you couldn't have built it on your own. You did not have the star power. You didn't have the national recognition. I mean, Mr. T was in the highest rated show at the time, and he fairly recently before that was in Rocky 3.
Don't turn your back on me, Creed.
With Hulk Hogan,
brother.
It's Thunderlips, the ultimate male.
The greatest performance in the history of movies was Hulk Hogan as Thunderlips, because he actually did 18 times the amount of moves in that movie that he did in actual wrestling matches.
Right. But between that, Lawrence Taylor did a good job of, learning wrestling, being part of the main event.
And, and another person that we think of a lot when it comes to somebody who has the star power, maybe not going from an athlete of the NFL into the limelight of being a professional wrestler, is Ronda Rousey. And look at how wonderful of a job she did. I mean, she picked up on it really quickly. The same thing with Matt Riddle coming in from UFC into professional wrestling. Matt Riddle is a guy that really impresses me on a week-to-week basis because he just keeps getting better and better in the ring. And I enjoy watching him wrestle. I mean, even when Snooki wrestled at WrestleMania a few years ago,
she was good.
She wasn't terrible.
And a lot of that had, she was athletic because she used to be a cheerleader, so she could do the acrobatics.
But, could you imagine if, Mickey Rourke actually got into the ring with Chris Jericho at WrestleMania instead of Jericho going up against the three legends in the 3-on-1 handicap match when he went up against the GOAT Roddy Piper, the GOAT Ricky Steamboat, and
Jimmy Snuka,
the guy who murdered his girlfriend. But it's and it's interesting because like even when Shaq got in the ring, Shaq didn't really do a lot to get into the wrestling ring. But I mean, even he held his own. Karl Malone didn't look terrible. Neither did Dennis Rodman. Well, actually, Dennis Rodman looked kind of shitty in the ring. Who am I kidding?
David Arquette. It was brought up before, so I'm just bringing it back to the conversation. Jay Leno. That was bad.
Drew Carey, terrible.
Pete Rose.
Oh, that was fucking tremendous. I love it.
Anytime Pete Rose was with Kane was great.
That was my favorite thing because it was WrestleMania 13 in Boston, Massachusetts.
WrestleMania 14.
That was 13.
13 was in Chicago because that's where Brett went against
Stone Cold, and the Undertaker fought Sid Justice for the title. You're right, it was WrestleMania 14 in Boston where Pete Rose. I apologize. Pete Rose came out, talked all that shit. That's a very good point. I'm sorry, Tommy, to bring up a good point. It really helps that Lawrence Taylor went up against somebody like Bam Bam Bigelow, who is a very talented in-ring performer. Obviously, that's why it looked like shit when Floyd Mayweather fought the Big Show at WrestleMania, because the Big Show can't wrestle anybody, and Floyd Mayweather doesn't fight.
Or I mean, how about him against Aki Bono?
But like even Stephen Amell getting in the ring,
he was athletic and did pretty good.
He looked really good.
That was what SummerSlam. It was a tag match, and Cody was involved.
Yeah, he was on the winning end against Cody. But like, and to go back to like what Pat McAfee went in there and he knew where his strong points were, and they used that to his advantage. Getting in the ring with somebody like Adam Cole is a smart move because you know that Adam Cole can carry a fucking mop to a wrestling match, just not the Great Khali.
Right.
And McAfee looked really good. I could see McAfee, if he wanted to become a professional wrestler, it would work for him because he knows enough to actually look not terrible in the ring. Over time, you can only get better, i.e., ask The Miz, because The Miz used to be a fucking bum in the ring, and now I actually enjoy watching The Miz wrestle. But McAfee is one of those guys because he's got the look. He's not like, I mean, he's a pretty solid dude.
He's not gigantic,
but he looks a little bit more of a part than like a Rey Mysterio does.
Yeah.
And Rey Mysterio is the greatest luchador of all time. He's got charisma. He knows how to talk on the mic. He's really good on the fucking mic. And he's not terrible in the ring. He's one of those guys that could be an athlete that transitions into professional wrestling and is very successful at it. And he could be what they wanted Gronk to be.
Well, and bringing up that in this is they asked McAfee if he's contracted for anything else, and right now he has no other deal signed with WWE. He had one match signed with them, but said he is not against doing it again. Although it sounded like, taking the bumps, I think, was a little bit more painful than he thought. Because he was like, it didn't sound like he was itching to get back in the ring, but it also sounded like overall it was a really good experience. But I don't think he wants to deal with the pain of getting slammed on a mat all the time. Which, the end of what ended up being the end of the Strowman versus Fiend match, it's like, I was showing somebody who's new to professional wrestling, like I told them, like, hey, like, there's a little bit of padding, but they're more or less landing on like plywood. And I was able to, at least in that match, show like, that's what they're landing on. That is not soft.
I think the biggest mind fuck as a professional wrestling fan is like all those years that everybody throws it in your face, like the non-wrestling fans, wrestling's fake and it's all that stuff. Like you don't know what you're to expect, like how the ring is built. Because like for the most part, like when you're a kid, you just see, hey, there's the ring, and there they go, they get into the ring. And you're like, and then once you start going to like the live shows, because like I experienced it when I went to my first SmackDown about 8-9 years ago. And that was back when they were still doing like main event, and they were still doing they were still doing what the hell else was it with main event? No, it was way after Heat. This was like 10 years ago, not even 10 years ago. But they shot like WWE main event, and then they went in there And then they did SmackDown, and just watching as the referees and the rest of the ring crew are switching out the aprons and everything like that. And it's like, oh, look, they went from being main event to SmackDown, and that was something new and different that I'd never experienced before. And, you know, finding out that underneath the ring is like when you actually take apart the ring that's actually wood, and to see the wrestlers and what they have to land on, it's like I have a greater appreciation for them just because of the fact that I've seen what makes the ring the ring. Because I'm one of those people that it takes me more, like I can't just like hop out of bed. You know, after, 20 years of physical labor and just taking a toll on my body, it's like I have a hard time getting out of bed. I can only imagine, like with The Undertaker. The fact that The Undertaker has been hitting the mat for over 30 years and what that does on his back, and the fact that he's had multiple surgeries on every part of his body, especially his hip and everything. And it's like, I can see that. And like Jay said, you have an understanding of what is like, especially like in a situation where you come across somebody who is not a wrestling fan, who's trying to get into becoming a wrestling fan, and to show them what the ring is. That was a good thing that they did with the whole Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman match from SummerSlam. It was the same type of deal that they did a few years back, or not even a few, just like a couple of years back when it was Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, when they had the feud of the year a couple of years ago, where they tore apart the ring and freaking Ciampa hit the freaking DDT on the exposed wood on Johnny Gargano. Still one of my favorite rivalries of the last 10 years.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
But I can understand where McAfee's coming from. As a wrestling fan myself, I would love to see McAfee get into this on a full-time basis because I would be a fan of McAfee. The dude knows how to get heat. The man knows how to talk on the mic. Those are very key things that you need to become a star in the wrestling industry. You need to have a character. You need to have the ability to go out there and get a reaction from fans. If you don't get a reaction out of fans like Jason Jordan, then you're not going to succeed.
Well, Jason Jordan did start getting reactions from fans, but it was X-Pac. He was like, get the hell out of here. We don't want to see you. But I would put that more on storyline than him.
Yeah.
But anyway, good solid match. Adam Cole, baby, wins this match. Part of me thought that they were going to have it, since it was an attraction, have McAfee win. But again, I guess it helped them for setting up this fatal four-way. So that's that. And then we had Io Shirai going against Dakota Kai. And Io Shirai actually comes out on top in this match. I had a feeling they were not going to take the title off her this early. That there was like a little part of me that thought that maybe Raquel Gonzalez might cause some chicanery and have Kai win this, but Io Shirai wins out. So good on that.
Dakota Kai is a future NXT Women's Champion. Book that. You heard it straight from the brainless mouth. She is very talented. I loved when she turned heel the way that she did, because it gives her something else. Because she was just kind of like a koala bear. She was cute and adorable, and people think that she's not a very intimidating person. And then she went in full heel, and I'm 100% on board with it. She is ultra talented, and I think that she is definitely a future champion. I'm happy that they didn't pull the trigger on her getting the title now, because
guess what the brainless one predicted.
I have to go out of the way sometimes.
Guess what I predicted. You and Jeff both predicted that Dakota Kai was going to win.
I know I picked Finn Balor in his match against Timothy Thatcher. I didn't bring it up. Just saying.
You did, but there were more matches I got right than you got wrong.
This isn't a competition, Jay.
It is a competition. It's always a competition. When you get a perfect night, do you sit there the next episode and not go on and on?
I mean, there was two times that I've had perfect nights.
See?
The sad part was it was an AEW. One of them was an AEW pay-per-view within the first year, and I was like, They're supposed to be different, and yet I predicted the show accurately. I wasn't even proud of that one.
Well,
I wasn't even proud that I went 8 for 8 because it just disappointed me.
well, anyway. So that was NXT TakeOver, and obviously we kind of went a little bit into Monday Night Raw and a little bit into NXT for this week because it involved all storylines for that. So anyway.
So they want us to put a bet on like who loses.
Oh, well. The next time we have a big pay-per-view show, we'll figure out some sort of bet.
Technically next weekend because it's all
Technically, tonight, there's a pay-per-view.
I'm not making bets on the Payback pay-per-view.
Nor am I because I don't know what we're going to bet over. We'll have to figure that out. You guys put it on the poll, Guillermo.
I'm telling you right now, I really do feel the same way about what they're going to do with the Universal Championship tonight on Payback. Although that's just going to piss me the fuck off if they do that, even though I have a feeling that's exactly what they're going to do.
All right, so...
By the way, another thing about that with the triple threat match for the title tonight, it's a triple threat match for the Universal Championship, and it's like a no-holds-barred match.
They're always a no-holds-barred match. I think they just put that in there as, like, they wanted to make it sound more impressive. It's like, there are always no countouts and no disqualifications in that. So it's almost like when they have a regular triple threat match, they don't say that and they don't use that stipulation so much. Like you don't see people coming out so much with a kendo stick or with a chair. It's just when they do come out on rare occasion, it's like, oh, perfectly legal in this match. Or if somebody comes down and interferes, oh, perfectly legal in this match. When they're saying it this time, it makes it sound like maybe we're going to see kendo sticks, chairs, and the whole kitchen sink. I'd like to see Braun Strowman take the kitchen sink and throw it. I mean, if you saw the way that he threw Drew Gulak around on SmackDown, you know that he could throw the kitchen sink across the damn ring.
I just want to see somebody with like dog catching net and put that around Roman Reigns, and that's how he gets taken out of the match.
All right, so Monsef is saying the winner buys the loser a drink and the loser watches WrestleMania 3. That's not a loss at all.
I love WrestleMania 3.
WrestleMania 3 is, yeah.
It's a top 5 WrestleMania in my book.
No.
In my book.
In the Brainless book. It has some of the most iconic moments in WrestleMania history.
It's got the greatest moment in wrestling history. It's got one of the most underrated matches of all time between Ricky Steamboat.
It's not underrated. Everybody loves that match.
Except for Dave Meltzer. He didn't give it 5 stars, that fucking piece of shit.
It has one of the best versions of God Bless America ever, sung by the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin.
If I'm not mistaken, that was when we got the Brutus Beefcake face turn because he had lost earlier tonight with Greg the Hammer Valentine, and when Piper beat Adonis for the hair versus retirement match, and he actually helped Piper shave Adonis's head. R.I.P. the GOAT. Adonis.
Chris Brown is saying, Ormond Seth, the loser has to watch the match between Sandman and Dreamer versus Dudley's from One Night Stand. Or the loser has to do Mickey Mouse cosplay.
Oh! I mean,
there's a lot of interesting things flying out there. I mean, if you say that I have to watch Clash 13 again, I mean, I do that anyway, so that's fine.
You don't even have to lose a bet to watch that.
Yeah. Now, if if you make me watch Extreme Rules again, like the one from last month, was that Extreme Rules? The crap pay-per-view where they had the crappy endings in every match. And they're like, you think that match had a crappy ending? Wait till the next one. We got a crappier ending. And then wait till the next one. We've got a crappier ending after that. The one where, yeah.
I still would rather watch the David Arquette documentary over watching Moneyball. Because why am I going to watch a movie about a general manager who didn't do dick?
Battleground 14.
I'll tell you right now. No, I'll tell you right now. I would watch Moneyball if they came out with Moneyball 2, where they show that fucking piece of shit Billy Bean getting back in the plane and Theo Epstein getting named manager of the Red Sox, and then he goes and trades for Kurt Schilling and signs Keith Folk, and then gets rid of Noma, brings in Dougie Mankiewicz. And I know it's Mankiewicz. I'm being an asshole. And Orlando Cabrera and the Red Sox. And then they show A-Rod getting his head shoved in with a fucking glove and then slapping the ball out of the glove of freaking Bronson Arroyo during Game 6 of the ALCS. And then the Yankees lose. A-Rod cries. The Red Sox win the World Series. And Billy Bean is at home watching it and we're going, what if? What if I had stayed in Boston?
Yeah, Capital Punishment was definitely a bad show. One show that we discussed, but don't bring up too often on the podcast, and I want to say that it happened at Halloween Havoc. They had the Chamber of Horrors match where Abdullah the Butcher ends up getting, spoiler alert, gets electrocuted by the Steiner brothers. It was great. I need to watch that.
You know what we could do, and I know people are going to laugh when I say this, like the loser of that could dress up like Jeff Hardy from Victory Road 2011.
Yeah.
Those are the best memes, by the way. They're like, I want to get high on life. How high do you want to get? Picture of Jeff Hardy, Victory Road 2011.
Yeah.
How high is the radio? Jeff Hardy.
Anyway, let's get back to stuff that will bring us to tonight's pay-per-view. All right, so Randy Orton attacked Drew McIntyre at the beginning of Monday Night Raw this week. Drew cut a promo as Drew's leaving the ring. Orton comes and attacks him, skull punts him twice. Mind you, the skull punt doesn't actually take out McIntyre. He's able to get back behind the scenes unaided. He took two skull punts.
Oh, it was 3.
2 skull punts, which would have destroyed anybody else 10 years ago. But apparently,
unless it was Shawn Michaels who took an RKO and a skull punt last week on Raw.
Apparently, the skull punt is just not as strong these days. Apparently.
But that was after the fact that Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton last week on SummerSlam had a wonderful championship. SummerSlam was really good.
I thought it match of the night.
I will say this. I will not go out on a limb and say this. SummerSlam was good. SummerSlam is one of the best pay-per-views they've done in a long while.
One of the best. It's, to me, probably the best show that they've done without the audience.
Yes, I agree with that. Although, you know me with the Firefly Funhouse was still the greatest thing that they've done in 2020.
Right? Yeah.
Although the mind fuck of our boy winning the Money in the Bank the following month was, I still can't believe he's Mr. Money. It's the greatest thing ever. That celebration is going to be great. It's going to be steaks and a naked Mandy Rose.
So, Orton attacks McIntyre. This led later to Keith Lee deciding that he needed to challenge Randy Orton, and they end up having a match. And Keith Lee was holding his own more or less, and then McIntyre ends up costing Lee the match because he was trying to get retribution.
I see what you did.
See what I did there? On Orton for the heinous attack from earlier in the show. But this has now set up for Keith Lee and Orton are going to have another match, and it's going to be tonight at Payback. And we will get into our prediction of that later, but this was the setup for that.
Correct.
Then we had Shayna Baszler going against Bayley Manning. And so one of the things that they've been building up lately is Shayna and Nia Jax don't like each other. We found out, unfortunately, on Monday Night Raw that Nia Jax has been reinstated from her suspension. So Nia is free to roam about Monday Night Raw again.
I think it's because the people that work in catering got upset about her eating all the food.
Well, I mean, they lost Cassius Ohno.
I mean, just think about the cost. We don't talk about that enough, about the cost-saving move of releasing Cassius Ohno. Not because of the money that they get back from his contract, but think of all the money they're going to save in catering by not having to feed his fat ass.
When he gained, what was it, 50 pounds during the match. That is the greatest piece of bad commentary
And
ever.
Nigel goes, "It's incredible for a 330-pounder, Morrow." I'm like, dude, you got introduced as 270. He went from 270 to 290 to 300 to 330 pounds in the span of one match. One match. Not like 6 months or a year or over. No, it was one fucking match. And I'm still convinced that he got stuck between the bottom rope and the mat during his match against Riddle and Riddle's debut on NXT TakeOver War Games. You can't tell me otherwise. They fuck with that shit. They like reshot him going under. No, he definitely got stuck.
But one thing I'll say is I hope Cassius Ohno, aka Chris Hero, ends up doing fine on the indie circuit. Like
AKA the Waller of Meatloaf.
He could go in the ring. But he just a big dude, and like he. Chris Hero. Yeah,
Chris loves heroes,
he does love Hero.
and he's not. We're not talking about Captain America either.
Yeah. So Nia Jax.
Cassius Ohno has spent more time at Golden Corrals than their employees. He's 3 years away from retirement and a pension from them.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Well, that's how they got his name when he went to NXT. He went to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and when he opened the door, the employees were like, "Oh no!"
Cassius. Oh no.
He wanted to be called Cashew. Oh no!
He'll be here all day.
I'll be here all week, baby. Woo!
So, circling back to Nia Jax.
Circling back to Nia Jax. Like we're orbiting around that bitch.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah.
Don't forget to tip your waitress. Oh, goodness gracious.
Me. Anyway.
Let's go back to you talk about
Nia Jax is officially unsuspended, and her and Shayna have been kind of having a thing. And during this match against Bayley, Nia shows up and causes attack Shayna, and ended up attacking Bayley, I think, and then like melee with Shayna, and like they keep on fighting back and forth with each other, but at one point they finally figured out how much they really dislike Bayley and Sasha Banks, and decide, despite the fact that they really dislike each other that much, that they need to be a tag team player, and they're going to go against Bayley and Sasha at Payback for the tag team championships, the women's tag team championships. I love how we have a makeshift team that has never wrestled before, that dislikes each other immensely, who have not beaten any team ever, are getting a women's tag team title match because they built up this division so well. Those belts are they're more than props, right? It's just to make your girl Bayley look, or as Chris says, bitchy two belts, look impressive. But I did enjoy on SmackDown the promo that Bayley and Sasha did cut, where Bayley kept on like, "I'm so sorry, Sasha. I know that you just can't defend the Raw Women's title because right now she's 0-5 in title defenses." So, what's up, Jessica? Thanks for tuning in again. So, they had that little thing, and when there was the Nia and Shayna show up on the screen and they're doing a little bit of promo against each other, Banks at one point says like, "Come Sunday at Payback, I will get my vengeance." But she looks at Bayley when she says that, and then looks over to Nia and Shayna.
Oh,
It's
you know
clear.
You know what that means? Because if she said payback, that means she would be getting her payback at payback, which is starting to make me feel like the September pay-per-view is going to be vengeance.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely makes you feel like, all right, yeah, we're going to get new women's tag team championships. They're going to have to put the extender on one of the belts.
You said it. You said it.
It's true that
I know
when
it is.
Andre
I
the Giant
know.
had the title for like that moment, they put an extender on that.
I'm convinced that that's the reason why Cassius Ohno never won a championship at the NXT level, because they didn't have an extender long enough to extend the belt around his badass. Cassius Ohno, if he falls out of bed, is a 4.2 on the Richter scale. I'll go. I could spend an entire 2-hour episode shitting on Cassius Ohno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we had Aleister Black on Kevin the KO show.
Returned on the KO show after he was taken out by Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, and so probably the biggest surprise. I can't believe it. Not even. I can't even say that was the biggest surprise, because we had so many fucking surprising things this week.
Yeah.
But like as a pretty big surprise, Aleister Black turned heel.
And he beat the hell out of Kevin Owens.
Which now makes Aleister Black my new favorite wrestler in all of the entire universe.
He is the top face in your wrestling territory.
No, he's number 2. He's my second favorite wrestler.
After Orange Cassidy?
Absolutely.
Okay. And that goat had a moment this week, too.
Yes, he did.
So looks like we're getting Black and Owens coming up at some point soon, but it is not announced for Payback tonight.
Correct.
We talked about the Keith Lee, Randy Orton thing. We had a gimmick arm wrestling match.
The one bright spot about the arm wrestling match from Raw this week is that we had the opportunity to see one of my personal favorites in Mark Henry return, because he was going to be the referee for the arm wrestling match between Apollo Crews and Bobby Lashley. And I love Mark Henry, so anytime he's on the TV, I'm very happy to see him.
But the arm wrestling match was very short, and the heel in this whole rivalry, Apollo Crews, did a dastardly thing where he stepped on Bobby Lashley's foot and then just slammed his arm down and won the arm wrestling match. I mean, it was very Hulk Hogan-esque. So,
I think that was very Hoganish, brother. Tommy did bring up a really good point that Aleister Black and Kevin Owens has the possibility of being a really good match. I can't argue with that one. I won't argue what Kevin Owens is as a wrestler in the ring.
Or even on the microphone. He's a great overall talent. It's just when you put him in a cupcake on pole match, he gets a little upset.
He's just a fucking bitch. At the end of the day, he's a fucking bitch. It's like, it's between him and the 400-pound crybaby, who they both should be wearing diapers and fed bottles. But either way, I respect where respect is due for Kevin Owens as an in-ring performer.
Right.
I just think that he is the worst fucking human being in all of WWE, whose name isn't Vince McMahon.
All right.
I'll tell you right now, if I ever saw Kevin Owens in public just walking down the street, I'd probably punch him in the face.
Awesome.
And I'm not a confrontational person. Like, I would not just go out and physically attack somebody. He would be the exception to. I would literally punch Kevin Owens in the fucking face. Literally.
All right.
Kevin Owens in the face.
Yeah, Chris, I didn't like the segment at all. Like, I know that they're trying to do this to build some sort of character with Apollo Crews, but I just didn't like it. And if it was like I know it's entertainment, but if it was like something resembling a legit looking arm wrestling match, Mark Henry would have been there holding their hands together and then like, let's go.
Yeah.
So everything about this just was like, all right, Apollo Crews, Mr. Smile all the time, went heel so he could win.
Nefarious tactics.
And yeah. So that's setting up for tonight, where we're actually going to have Lashley going against Apollo Crews
for the U.S. title.
So,
which we all know how that's going to end.
yeah, well,
I'm curious to see how predictable Payback is tonight. I really am.
right.
Because I got a feeling it's going to be ultra. I think one of us is going to go perfect tonight. So, if not both of us.
Huh. I like that idea. Jessica is saying, if you saw SmackDown, Alexa Bliss kind of started having the Harley Quinn look again. And what if her getting with the Fiend is she becomes the Harley Quinn character?
Well, if you think about it, that was the running. I don't know if it's a joke, but like that's been the thing that's been going on since the Fiend debuted last year at SummerSlam. Is that a lot of the people go back to their old ways. He went to Finn Balor and he had that feud with Finn Balor. Then Finn Balor went back to NXT to be a star, and now he's a heel. Although he's kind of a tweener at this point.
He's just Finn Balor.
He's just the GOAT.
It's just like Randy Orton is just Randy Orton. Even when he's a face, he doesn't change how he acts.
And the most important thing about Finn Balor is you may be cool, but you're not Finn Balor wearing a leather jacket cool. I don't care who anybody says.
No, everybody who's face
The Fiend has gone back to their old ways. The Miz was
They've
a face.
changed.
They've gone.
I'm not going to say gone back to their old ways. They've changed. Braun Strowman has not gone back to his old ways. He's changed.
I mean, but
There's a difference between changing and going back.
But
to where
like,
he
look
used to
at
be.
the Miz. The Miz was a face. Now he's back to being a heel after he went up against Bray Wyatt. Look at
Braun Strowman breaks your rule that you're trying to set up.
Goldberg. Also, I mean, Goldberg's just Goldberg.
Goldberg won though.
Yes, Goldberg. But that was the one that they were like Goldberg didn't have anything to like go back to. Because like even Daniel Bryan, because Daniel Bryan had the long hair and the beard, and then he came back to being what Daniel Bryan was when Daniel Bryan first debuted. So anyway, it would have surprised me if that was what was going to happen and that was going to lead to Alexa.
No, but like the fact that she's dressing up like Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn, her story is she was like abused, but then got like, it was like girl power, but like it was almost like Stockholm syndrome, where like she got lured in by the Joker, and the Joker did all sorts of crappy stuff to her, but it created a monster within her. So
the only monster was watching the Birds of Prey movie. By the way, if you have the opportunity to watch Birds of Prey starring Harley Quinn, don't. It was terrible.
yeah,
But it's going to be interesting to see where they go going forward, because a lot of people have been waiting for the final blow off between Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross because of the fact that they've been friends, and this whole storyline has been the way it has been. And people were expecting that Nikki Cross could be the one that turns on Alexa. I mean, obviously the betting odds is that Alexa does turn on Tommy. I would return it. That's all I'm going to tell you. I would return the movie. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward. If Alexa Bliss does go back to being bitchy Bliss, or if this is going to be,
Well, I mean, specifically, like they had Alexa on SmackDown this week, and she took like she was talking with Tamina backstage, and Nikki's there, and Nikki like has the cup that was given like as a friendship gift, and Alexa takes the cup and smashes it.
fuck your cup, bitch.
Yeah. So it certainly could be something that they do, but there are so many moving parts within that triple threat match. I don't know if that storyline will finish or at least take the next step. I think there are some other unresolved things that they have that are higher priority right now, where it seems like with the Alexa, they've been kind of a little bit slower burn, I think.
Unless she comes out and there's the reason why Braun Strowman gets distracted and pinned.
There's a lot of shit that could happen in that match. So, but we will get into that shortly.
Yes. Yeah.
We did have Mickie James on Monday Night Raw, where it wasn't an embarrassment what they did with her this week. They had Natalya and Lana out there. I don't remember when Natalya turned heel, but apparently she's a heel right now. And
Makes sense.
maybe Natalya ended up taking Mickie James' place from when Mickie never explained why she went heel with Alexa all those years ago. But Mickie James comes back and beats the crap out of Lana and Natalya. And this was a much better way of bringing her back than the crap they did before.
The one thing that I've really stuck in my craw about that whole thing was that, Natty and Lana were out there and they were like, we're going to show all of Mickie James' accomplishments. And it was a blank screen. And I'm like, you can't say that about Mickie James.
They're heels. They're supposed to do that.
No, I understand, but it's like Mickie James is, arguably, no matter what, in my opinion, top 5 women performer of all time.
They're heels. I take more offense to when
What they did last week.
No, well, I take more offense to what they did last week, but I take more offense to when they had Lay Cool calling her Piggy James. Yeah, you're being a heel, but you're also putting people down, and she was not even that big. That bothered me more than them playing an empty screen. It's like going, all right, they're heels, trying to diminish her wrestling career instead of diminish her body and diminishing, So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so then Asuka had a rematch, your favorite. A rematch from SummerSlam on Monday Night Raw.
And at SummerSlam, Asuka fought Sasha Banks. When she was fighting for both titles, she led off against Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title, and Bayley was able to retain the title, surprisingly.
With the help of Alexa.
With the help of Alexa.
But in match number 2 of that night, Asuka, who was already a little beaten down from the Bayley match, and it was at about the halfway point of SummerSlam when they had the second match. So Asuka still feeling a little bit of the remnants of that first match going against Sasha. And when a similar spot comes up in the match where Bayley could help out her friend a little bit, Bayley chose to save her own butt.
Yep.
And then Sasha ends up in the Asuka lock and loses. And then,
So now there's 3 guarantees in life. Death, taxes, and Sasha Banks will not have a successful title run as champion.
Yeah. And Monday night, if I'm remembering correct, the rematch, they had a Lumberjill match. And which, just meant you can't get outside the ring without getting beat up or thrown back in the ring. And same thing, Asuka ends up winning and getting Sasha to tap out. Good. But I guess that they hot potatoed that title to push a couple storylines forward. I don't like when they do that. I don't like the fact that, Asuka lost the title the way that she did, yet added some bits of character to her where it's like going, you find out that her and Kairi Sane are like fly or die, friends. Mm-hmm. And Asuka loses the title to go help out her friend, only for 2 weeks later to gain that same title back. But it also did push forward the Bayley and Sasha storyline. Again, I think there are different ways they could have gone about it to get to the same spot they are now. But Asuka has now beaten Sasha 2 in a row, and that's feeding into the Sasha and Bayley storyline, and the Nia and Shayna most likely, I'm going to say 100% winning the titles tonight. Great. All right. So then we had Ray and Dominic Mysterio. going against Murphy and Rollins. And this match started but did not end because Retribution showed up and caused all sorts of mayhem. But we are going to get that match tonight at the Payback show. But yeah, Retribution wreaking havoc on Raw. And one interesting theory somebody brought up earlier is they believe that Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns are the head of Retribution. I like that theory. I don't know if that's going to be what's revealed, but Roman Reigns wears black like the Retribution guys, and him being the head of a gigantic heel faction, that could be very, very interesting. So, Brian, I appreciate you chiming in with that theory. I kind of like the idea. And heck, maybe if that's true, maybe that plays into the main event.
I got an even more interesting theory, my tinfoil hat theory on who the Retribution leader is. Keith Lee. Because right now, the way that people are making
I
it
would
seem
not
like...
put that as more interesting.
Yeah, because nobody would see it coming. Like, Roman Reigns being in charge of Retribution, because this is like him getting his retribution for not having a title match and saying that this company, the only reason...
Well, and also he technically never lost the title. That was one of the things he brought up. Leukemia took the title from him. And then he was going to have, finally, after a year, have his match to get the title back. And then
COVID-19 fucked everything up in 2020.
And here we are today. Storyline-wise, the thing that actually makes most sense, and one thing we always complain about WWE is not making sense. It would make sense. If Paul Heyman is part of this storyline, Paul Heyman likes shit to make sense.
Well, I will say this, and here's my theory on why Keith Lee would actually also make sense as the leader of Retribution. Because right now, the way that they're making it seem like is the members of Retribution are all people from NXT, correct? That's what it seems like right now. Some of the people, like, they've been trying to figure out who these people are. And then they came out with this, like, because it looks like the 6 people that they showed on Monday Night Raw that were in the ring are going to be the guys who are going to be part, or the people who are going to be part of Retribution. In that Retribution group was Donovan Dijakovic and Mia Yim. Mia Yim, who is dating Keith Lee in real life, and Donovan Dijakovic, who is Keith Lee's best friend, being in Retribution with other members of NXT like Dio Madden, and Shane Thorne seems to be one of the other names that keeps throwing out there. Kaden Carter, I believe, was another one, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember who the other girl was they said was part of Retribution. But it was 6 members of NXT getting brought up to the main roster. And Keith Lee, who had his music changed and a new attire, what if he comes out dressed like a badass and that he's like, give it time. Like he said, give it time and everything will make sense. That could be that he is in charge of Retribution. It's not a terrible idea. Plus,
I don't like it.
If you want to build up Keith Lee, why not put him in charge of a badass?
Why would he have a problem with Randy Orton then? Randy Orton, who is the top heel in the company right now, if you're a part of Retribution, you are part of a heel faction. Why?
Now he had his match with Randy Orton.
He has another one tonight.
Drew McIntyre cost him his debut match against Randy Orton. You don't think that might actually fuel into the fact that he could be pissed off?
Why would he go against Randy Orton? Why wouldn't he go against Drew McIntyre so he could get a title shot?
I don't know.
That's why I'm saying it doesn't make sense too much for Keith Lee to do it.
I
would put the percentage chances of Keith Lee being the head of Retribution at -100.
Wow.
I'm just throwing it out there. To me, it doesn't make a lick of sense. Like as much as I hear what you're describing, you just debut a character and then you have him change like to something else. And it's somebody that mainstream WWE fans have no idea who the hell he is. Are you going to bring somebody up and be like, who the is this guy? Well, if you have Roman Reigns ahead of that thing, they know who the hell the big dog is.
I mean, by that logic, then, if you want to get somebody with a big name to be in that role, why not CM Punk?
It could be
Because
CM Punk.
nobody would ever see that happen.
And Jessica brought up, what if it's Seth Rollins?
Anyway, I got to create.
I don't want to stay too long on this because we don't need to go 4 hours today.
You're right. How about this one? What if Chris Benoit was in charge of the Retribution? Chris Benoit for doing him out of royalties when he was erased from the network. Not to make a joke about Benoit, but him faking his death for all this time and showing up as the leader of Retribution would be the storyline no one saw coming. That's why I love wrestling fans.
So, all right. We had SmackDown this week. SmackDown had Jeff Hardy having an open challenge for the Intercontinental title, but kind of at the beginning of this whole thing, AJ Styles was out in the ring and nursing the injury from losing the title last week from getting kneed in the head from the knee brace and taking the Swanton bomb. AJ saying, I can't wrestle this week. And so Hardy has this open challenge, and Shinsuke Nakamura answered and lost.
Shocking.
So Nakamura loses. Hardy starts making his way back to the entrance ramp, and who comes out?
Sami Zayn, baby.
Returning Sami Zayn, looking even more Fidel Castro with a longer beard and longer hair, and we're still unclear with actually where the hell he's been for the last 4 months. Even Nakamura and Cesaro have no idea where he's been for the last 4 months, according to the storyline.
Clearly, he has been in Cuba with Fidel Castro.
Well, Fidel's dead, so, maybe he's hanging out at his grave.
You don't know. Anything's possible.
But, it was good to see Sammy back, and Sammy is a hell of a heel. Like, when he first kind of got to WWE, he was not what I would call the greatest talker, but he was incredible in the ring, but in the last, I'd say, year and a half, 2 years, like, he is like through the roof, incredible on the microphone. Like,
they did say, like, about a year ago, when he was really taken off of this whole heel gimmick that he's been doing, that he is one of the few wrestlers that has creative control over what he says. Like, he doesn't work from a script. He just goes with whatever he says.
Well, and you have to build that trust with Vince, and you got to build that trust with the writers, and well, at this point, Bruce Pritchard, who head of creative. But if he's got that trust, good for him, man. So, and that is part of Sami Zayn's storyline, is he never lost the Intercontinental title, although I think it's funny that he has the new design of the Intercontinental title that was not available when he won it.
Yeah, it did.
I don't think it.
No, because Nakamura was the one that they transitioned from the title. Nakamura lost the title to Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman lost the title to Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn basically disappeared, and the title was just
in abeyance.
Yes, and it was just, and so they had the title because AJ Styles got that title around his waist when he won the tournament to win the title, because Daniel Bryan put it around his waist, and the only person that AJ Styles lost the title to was Jeff Hardy. So Sami Zayn has been champion when they had the new design title.
I don't remember that. Oh.
I still think it's an ugly fucking belt.
I don't think it's.
I hate the new Intercontinental title. I miss the old school one, but nevertheless. But yes, I think it's awesome that they have the two titles. This isn't the first time that we had a situation where there was two guys with Intercontinental championships That one led
Shawn
to the
Michaels
blow-off,
and
Razor Ramon, that led up to their ladder match at WrestleMania 10, which you and I believe our friend Tommy and FM Mark's Hall of Famer Tommy were actually bear witness to at Muzzy Field when they fought for or was that Bristol Central?
Bristol Central High School, and it was Timmy. Tommy might have been at that show, but I was there with his brother Timmy, who sometimes tunes into the show, and my friend Kevin. But yeah, they were in the lead up to WrestleMania that year. They were kind of going over and trying to work out the kinks of the ladder match, and I saw that it was like January before WrestleMania 10, and I mean, I'm going to say the match that I saw was like 90% of what happened at WrestleMania. So I got to see the incredible Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon ladder match like 3 months before it actually happened. So, good times, good times.
WrestleMania 10 was such a low-key, really good WrestleMania, too.
The
They had two legendary
greatest
matches.
intro match of all time.
Second. WrestleMania 28 had the better introduction match.
What match was that?
It's a shameful thing.
Oh, come on. That wasn't a good. That's not a good match.
That's a great way to start a WrestleMania, though.
It's not a great match. Yeah. Yes, they did do that, Tommy. I remember seeing Shawn Michaels' buttocks in that match. Yeah. But anyway. Yeah, Bret and Owen Hart, WrestleMania 10. R.I.P. Owen Hart. But what I would like to see, based off of what they've done, we're going to get a triple threat match here with AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, and Jeff Harvey.
We both said Harvey.
Thank you, Mike Adamley.
Oh, shit.
And that'll probably happen at the pay-per-view that they're having in a few weeks. They're having one at the end of September.
Of course they are.
So I think it's a good way to build the storyline up and bring back Sami Zayn, and the fact that, Zayn wanted to get the band back together with Nakamura and Cesaro. They're like, we haven't talked to you in 4 months. Private conversation, get the hell out of here.
Sorry, Sammy. No, I speak English.
So then we had Matt Riddle, and I think he got a perm because his hair was definitely a bit curlier than normal, and trying to call out Corbin, and Corbin's like, yeah, I'll fight you tonight. Shorty G's gonna fight for me, and more or less the stipulation was if Riddle beats Shorty G, then he'll go against Corbin at Payback. What happens? The original Bro wins, and now we're going to get the match between King Corbin and Matt Riddle. We've already seen this match, but we'll see it again and see what they can come up with. I don't know if it's going to top the Cassius Ohno versus Matt Riddle match. I'm going to say no. Oh, no. See what I did there?
I don't think that Baron Corbin's going to get stuck between the bottom ring rope and the mat itself.
No.
I'm going to put this out there just because I think it needs to be said. Has there ever been a pay-per-view that you've been less excited for or less pumped for than tonight's Payback? And is it because of the fact that we just had a whole weekend of SummerSlam and NXT Takeover
and Dynamite.
And then next week we have All Out. It's like, did they really need to do a pay-per-view a week after a pay-per-view? It's like one of those infomercials where it's like, it's like, look at this. This is the ShamWow, and wait, there's more. If you order now, you can get 2 pay-per-views this month. Like, really? I'm not excited for Payback tonight. I really am not. I'm sorry. Nothing on this show makes me like it. If you give me something that I hadn't seen before, I can say yes. But it's like we just had the Fiend and Braun Strowman fight last week in a no hold, like falls count anywhere match between the two of them for the Universal title, which led to them ending up in the ring and Braun Strowman eating wood. Sorry, like his name was Kevin Dunn, but it's like, so now the following week we get a triple threat match and we get a returning Roman Reigns to get added into that match. It's like, no, I'm not really excited for that because you just did falls count anywhere the week before between the two of them for the Universal title. Now the following week they're going to be in a no holds barred match and you throw in the big dog in there. And it's like, yeah, I think a lot of people are expecting Roman Reigns to win. And it's like, I'm really not excited for that. And it's like, well, what else can they do? Oh, I know. Let's give them another Matt Riddle versus Baron Corbin match. It's going to probably be the blow-off. At least that's what we're thinking. But we know 3 months down the road, they're going to be the fourth match of the pay-per-view, probably at Survivor Series, because that's what WWE does. And it's like, hey, I got an idea. Let's have Randy Orton fight Keith Lee for the second time at a pay-per-view after we just fought on Raw.
To be fair,
Yep.
the match didn't end in like a
All right, I'll give him that
conclusive manner.
I'll give him that one. And then it's like, we're going to have Bobby Lashley go up against Apollo Crews for the U.S. title after Apollo Crews won in a stupid way, in a stupid segment on Raw this week. And it's just, I guess my excitement levels for the pay-per-view are about here. And I don't think they could have gotten any higher than maybe here.
So what you're saying is you might need some herbal supplements to get you higher. Right? Am I right? Am I right? Right. Right. All right. Jessica asked us, where is Charlotte Flair?
Out injured.
There's been two things going around. One possibly injured. The other thing is she keeps on having her enhancement pop on her. And supposedly that was fixed. But Charlotte was saying she was going to be back in time for SummerSlam, and she was not.
Now we're hearing rumors floating around that she won't be back until after WrestleMania.
So we'll see what's true and what's not. But it'll be it's a loss for the women's division, but in the same way, it allows other women to step up. And obviously, lately it's been Bayley and Sasha, the ones kind of carrying the mantle of the division. But they have other extremely talented women. Like I love Asuka. Mm-hmm. I love Mickie James. If they fought every week, I would be fine with that. But
and this is a very interesting time too for WWE, especially in the women's division, because of the fact that in the last, basically since 2020 started, they lost Becky Lynch to a pregnancy. They lost Charlotte Flair to God only knows what. I don't even think.
I think there's a couple things.
There's probably a couple things. I'm sure that the boobs are a big thing, and I think that might actually, maybe she just has a bunch of like nagging injuries that she just wants to have heal up. You also just recently lost, because last week at SummerSlam we got the loser leaves WWE match between Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose.
Kairi Sane.
And you just lost Kairi Sane. You just lost Sonya Deville after she lost to Mandy Rose last week. She's probably taking time off for like personal reasons, because obviously a guy breaking into her house and planning to kidnap her, and God only knows what the hell he would have done. It definitely takes an emotional, toll on her. And I'll tell you right now, she's been one of those people that I've been a fan of, and I've just started to like her more and more. I've always been a fan of hers, even back in her NXT days. But she's starting to grow on me a lot more than she did and than she had. And she has the chance and the opportunity to be one of those next women in line that can actually make a run. Now we might see Mandy Rose be the next one up in line. There's been rumors that Naomi is going to get a pretty big push now on SmackDown. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, because they've lost two of the most important members of the women's division in Charlotte and Becky Lynch. You throw in Sonya Deville getting out there, and then you throw in the fact that Kairi Sane left. It's like you have a lot of chances and opportunities. You got people like Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler and Mandy Rose and
Nia Jax. Tommy made a suggestion that Zelina Vega wrestle more, and I know that they have been having her wrestle a bit more lately, but it is part of the storyline, so I don't know if this is just a short-term thing with Zelina, but they have plenty of talented women between. That's one thing that they actually have built up well, where like they have increased the roster size of the women, and there's more to pick from than they used to have. Now, I'd love to see like Rhea Ripley get an opportunity, but she had an opportunity to be launched into the stratosphere at WrestleMania, and they decided not to. And at this point, I'm wondering if they think that, maybe we made a mistake. Maybe we should have had her win. But we are where we're at right now with that. And
Lacey Evans is another one I think they dropped the ball on. They should have had her win the title months ago.
But you know what? That they did it to keep Bayley with the title, and the storyline with Bayley, as much as like we see them an awful lot, it has been a great evolution of the character, and she's taken the ball, and actually I think I'm not going to say hit a home run, but more or less she's hit like a triple. Like she is good as the annoying, bitchy woman who is arrogant as all hell.
All that matters is that the Manning family now has more championships than the Brady family, thanks to the little sister Bailey Manning.
Right.
Dirt.
So, but and that was in SmackDown with their promos. The split is happening very soon, and based off of how Sasha reacted during the promo, it's probably going to happen tonight. So, and then we did have another match on SmackDown: Cesaro versus Kalisto. Kalisto was saying that I think it was I forget, it was either Lindsay or Grand Metalik. I'm sorry, Grand Metallica. Went against Cesaro last week, and Kalisto was like, "You guys just don't know what you're doing out there. Let me show you how to do it." And after Cesaro wins the match, the other guys are like, "Yeah, way to show us how to do it." And at some point, that Lucha House Party, break them up. Let those guys see if they could figure stuff out on their own. Let Kalisto get drafted to a different show so he can once again not be able to say a word during his promo and then just scream and run off camera. Still one of my favorite moments. I don't know why. I love the moments of screw-ups an awful lot.
Like the Shockmaster.
Black Scorpion. And that wasn't just moments. That was like whole shows. The Big Cat. Not just that big cat. The big cat also, actually, that led to Kitty Litter guy.
I was thinking like the big cat from Clash 13 who made more appearances on that show than Cassius Ohno in line at the all-you-can-eat buffet.
He did.
It all comes circling back to Cassius Ohno. At the end of the day, it's all about Cassius Ohno.
Yeah. So Chris is saying that he heard that Charlotte might have 2 rotator cuff issues.
Ooh, shit.
And saying that when she goes up and does the figure 8, that puts an awful lot of pressure on her. I can see that. That might mean that she needs to, she'll have to change up her moveset. Or figure out a less painful way to do the figure 8, or have to build up the muscles around the rotator cuff to make it less strenuous. So those were like the matches for SmackDown. Like they had, obviously the little skits and we talked before about the reveal of Paul Heyman kind of being with Roman Reigns, and with SmackDown they had kind of this silly thing where like Vince McMahon told I forget the dude's name right now, you need to get the 3 signatures of the guys from the main event match on this document before the end of SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
And Reigns was the last one, and that's Reigns signed the thing as they were going off the air. So, but that leads us into Payback for tonight. So Payback, a lot of this stuff is kind of recycled stuff from either SummerSlam or just slight variations. But we do have Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott going against the Iconics in the pre-show. Now, this is like a thing that they've kind of been doing on WWE TV for a little bit. And I don't know if I could, is it technically the Riott Squad? Because Ruby was the head of the Riott Squad. And when she came back, the Riott Squad wasn't a thing. And Liv was her own thing. And Liv is just kind of like, so are they just like a tag team kind of friends, or are they the Riott Squad? I'm not sure. They used to be the Riott Squad.
I'm still going to call them the Riott Squad.
All right.
So we're talking Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott versus the Iconics.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott.
I agree. Chris Brown agrees too. Riott Squad wins this thing. You bring them back together, and Liv Morgan has been definitely learning.
Yeah.
She's gotten a lot better, and I think they'll reward her. And I think it sucked when Ruby got injured because it seemed like there was the Riott Squad was about to become a large entity within the women's division.
Yep.
But those are the things that happen. But I think that they're going to want to push them at this moment, and maybe they end up challenging the people who win later on that night. So, all right. So we got King Corbin going against permed Matt Riddle.
I only got one word to give you for my prediction for tonight. I'm going with Matt Riddle.
All right. I agree. As much as part of me thinks that they'll have Corbin do some fuckery, or have Shorty G do some fuckery to have Corbin win this match, it won't do Matt Riddle any favors. And again, it's you got this new guy from NXT, and you got more or less Corbin crapping on NXT and cruiserweights and all that jazz. If you have Corbin win, you're more or less confirming the case that NXT sucks and cruiserweight division sucks. So Matt Riddle wins this match.
I just saw the thing about Monsef saying that Wade Barrett is going to be the leader of Retribution.
It's an interesting idea.
I like that idea. I'm not going to.
I think it works. It makes more sense in my view than your Keith Lee idea.
I'm just saying that I've come up with worse ideas than Keith Lee being in charge of Retribution.
I know, but I'm still saying a negative 100% chance.
I'm going to say that there's. Don't make me do Steiner math right now, because I'll do it.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
All right. Rey and Dominic Mysterio Jr. against Seth Rollins and Murphy.
What if it was Dominic Guerrero Jr.?
Well, I mean, according to storyline, he's a Guerrero. He is, according to WWE storyline, the genetic child of Eddie Guerrero. So if they brought back Vicky Guerrero, even though she's in AEW, just for this storyline, that would be fantastic.
That's why she should never came on Dark, even though now she's managing, I think, Nyla Rose.
She is managing Nyla Rose.
I'm going to say that Dominic gets his first win tonight. So him and his daddy win.
I agree. The Mysterios need a win after the fact that Dominic lost last week, and after the fact that his dad lost his eye and got killed during Money in the Bank. He came back to life pretty quickly.
Was killed and lost both eyes.
Yeah. All right. We have Apollo Crews going against Lashley, and the U.S. Championship is on the line.
Bobby Lashley.
I agree. Bobby Lashley is going to win this match because, you know what? he's a badass, and they need to continue making him look like a badass. I would love to see the fact that like the arm wrestling match causes him to win this match, like where it's like a squash.
Right.
I'd love to see it that way. I don't think it will be, but I'd love this to be like a 1 minute, 2 minute match where he just kills him. So, yeah, Monsef, I do believe Rey Mysterio is immortal.
Yeah.
Chris Brown talking about how Rollins and Murphy win, but there's talk that Rollins may be leaving soon as well. Like, you know, with Rollins, the talk is like obviously that like when Becky has the baby, he'll be gone for a little bit. And if you're going by the timeline, like she still has several months left, but we all also don't know like if she's having any issues with the pregnancy or not. But I don't know. I still feel Dominic and Ray are winning this match. Ray just signed a new deal, and Dominic is just starting his career. And you know, instead of having him have a victory over the Monday Night Messiah at SummerSlam, the second biggest show of the year, have him win in the.
And he'll be the one that pins Murphy too.
Probably. All right. So Bayley and Sasha going against Shayna and Nia. Shayna and Nia win this match, and I think this is where we see the breakdown of Bayley Manning and Bitchy 2 belts and 1 belt Banks.
Should be no belts Banks after that.
It will be.
Only because of the fact that I've been a wrestling fan for a bajillion years, and they've done stupid shit like this before. So I think it's going to be Shayna Baszler versus Nia Jax. And that Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax win the tag team titles against Bayley and Sasha. Just because the fact is that it makes sense for them to have Sasha and Bayley, who are a legitimate tag team, the first ever women's tag team champions, win over a makeshift tag team with 2 people who hate each other. Yeah. I just think
it's stupid.
It's stupid.
It is.
And Shayna's going to be the one that wins the match for them.
All right.
So either you and I are going to agree on every single fucking prediction, or one of us is going perfect tonight. I can just feel it. I can see a scenario where we agree on everything and we're both perfect tonight.
Keith Lee versus Randall Keith Orton. I'm going with Randy Orton here just because it seems like they're going to continue his feud against Drew McIntyre. If you're going to do that, the only other possibility there is the fuckery we saw on Monday Night Raw happening again tonight, where Drew McIntyre gets involved and Keith Lee ends up, you know, losing but not looking bad. But Randall Keith Orton wins this match.
I'm going to say Keith Lee wins the match and Drew McIntyre gives them the hockey assist.
All right.
So Lee wins via distraction from Drew
McIntyre.
So,
all right. Then we have the triple threat match for the Universal Championship. Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns. We all know.
Usually in situations like this, I have to look at my heart, my brain, and my gut. And I usually, and a lot of times, it's different answers from all those aspects of me. This is one of the very few occasions where my heart, my brain, and my gut are all aligned perfectly in this one. Roman Reigns is winning this title tonight. I just feel it. That's the brainless brain functioning in a way that it doesn't usually do. It's my heart telling me that that's what's going to happen, and my gut, which is overpowering the other two, and is saying, "Yeah, he's fucking tonight." So Roman Reigns is going to win the title tonight. I don't see how he doesn't win the title. And once he does win the title, I'm going to be pissed because it's like you put the title on Bray, they have him drop the belt. It's like, why did you even give him the title in the first place if you were just going to have him drop it a week later? Why couldn't Braun Strowman have just held the title? Although I would not be surprised if we got the official double switch tonight or a double turn where Roman Reigns puts the exclamation point on his heel turn, and then we get a face Fiend. That's what I'm going with. I'm going with Roman wins the match, and we get a face Fiend at the end of it.
I'm going with Roman winning the match, but I'm not going to agree with the face Fiend. I think they still have too many, face Fiend is Bray Wyatt. So, the Firefly Funhouse guy.
Yeah, I kind of figured so.
So, I don't see that changing right now because they still have unanswered things with Alexa Bliss. And it seems like if Alexa is turning heel, which it seems like she is, it wouldn't make sense to.
But is it out of the realm of possibility with everything that WWE has done over the years that they could do a situation where it's just like, ah, fuck it, who gives a shit? Let's just kill the storyline here.
They've done it before, but they haven't done that with a lot of the stories that they build up for a super long time. They've built this up, I think, too long, and they've committed too much time to it to just we're done with it. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Monsef, I do believe that the Hart Family Dojo was closed down many, many years ago.
The dungeon.
The dungeon, the house that had the Hart dungeon was sold a long time ago, but I know that, I forget if it was, Bruce Hart, I think, was still kind of running the school for a little bit after that, but I want to say that was closed down sometime in the 90s because Chris Jericho mentioned that when I went into the Hart School of Wrestling, nobody really showed up. There was, I think he said one of the Harts showed up, but everybody else was just regular trainers. But I think Tyson Kidd and Natalia got legit training from the Harts.
I think they said that Tyson Kidd was the last student of the Hart School. So
yeah. Anyway, so that is Payback. So we'll quickly get into some of the AEW stuff that's been going on. So I was imagining that Cody Rhodes was going to keep the TNT title for a long time. And he kept it he had a good run with it. But to my surprise, Brody Lee beat him for the TNT title last week.
Mm-hmm.
And had quite a celebration on AEW last night. And Brody Lee just comes on and says, yeah, I'm not doing an open challenge. I'm gonna defend the title when I feel like it, instead of giving these little independent wrestlers a chance. No, you've got to earn it to go against me.
And what I thought was interesting was they are building towards All Out, where the Dark Order, which will be the team of Brody Lee, Evil Uno, my boy Stu Grayson, and still can't wrap my head around this one, Colt Cabana, will be going up in an 8-man tag match against the Natural Nightmares, which is Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. They will be teaming up with you know it, Matt Cardona, and the surprise person as part of their team, Scorpio Sky.
Interesting. But one thing that they did do on Dynamite is they had a casket.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying Cody Rhodes is in here, and they open up the casket, and I think it was Evil Uno, and he had the Nightmare family tattoo on him. That crazy thing Cody has on the back of his neck.
The dumbest tattoo. No, second dumbest tattoo I've ever seen in wrestling history. Next to when the Undertaker had Sarah tattooed across his throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got that going on. They did. The Young Bucks officially kicked out Hangman Page from the Elite
because they had a fatal 4-way elimination
gauntlet. There was a gauntlet
match between them, the FTR, the Best Friends, and I think the Lucha Brothers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
And Hangman Page actually cost the Jacksons their match where they got eliminated in the match, which led to FTR being the number one contenders for Page and Omega at All Out next weekend. And that led to them, and they basically called him a jobber and called him a drunk and threw his drink in his face. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, this feels like a fight that would have happened when I was in high school, the way that they acted. I'm like, this is terrible.
But we're finally getting the fracturing is official. And we'll see what that leads to next week at All Out. So
I don't know what's going to happen, but I will say this. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with overrated Omega.
yeah. All right. Then we had the GOAT with the other GOAT
Hold on, wait.
closing out.
So are you telling me, is it just a regular GOAT? Is it a super GOAT? Or is it the GOAT of GOATs who's goated more than GOATs have ever goated in the history of GOATdom?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh, Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Jericho.
Yeah.
Yes, because Chris Jericho on Dynamite this week was doing commentary again, and everybody loves when Jericho does commentary. I'm definitely one of them. And it finally led to like Orange Cassidy running across the ring and diving onto Jericho and starting to beat the shit out of him to a point where even JR became slight collateral damage in that situation.
JR.
Good old JR, the GOAT himself. They're having a Mimosa Mayhem match at, I don't even know what the hell that is. That's some fucking Vince Russo shit if I've ever heard it, but
Jericho's going to make it work.
Of course Jericho's going to make it work.
And Orange Cassidy's going to make it work.
That's because they're both GOATs.
So
I'm so excited for that match next week. I got to somehow find a way to watch it during my fantasy football draft on Saturday, and I don't even know how the hell I'm supposed to pull it off, but
yeah.
I'm only brainless when I have to be brainless in situations where I have to fire up the old noodle. I'll figure it out.
You can't fire up the old noodle if you don't have a noodle. Yeah.
Don't give myself brain damage either.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to Jericho and Orange Cassidy, the rubber match in this extremely enjoyable feud.
I couldn't agree more.
So those are some of the main things that have been going on with AEW, and next week we're going to spend much more time with AEW, but WWE's had so much going on between TakeOver, SummerSlam, Payback, people returning, people going, and all sorts of craziness. So that's why we've been kind of heavily focused on them. So,
which explains why my brain is rotted out and falling out of my ears.
Yeah. But let's get into our good, bad, and brainless for the week.
Okay. So, Cousin Jay, what was your good for this week?
I'm going with the reveal of Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman. It was so well done. So well done. It was beautiful. And there were other things that I could have gone with, but finally they actually did something where I was like surprised, and it was well executed.
I'm going to say Roman Reigns. And yes, him with Paul Heyman was good. But I'm going to say the fact that Roman Reigns came out at SummerSlam, beat the shit out of both Braun Strowman and The Fiend, and then he called The Fiend a freak with a mask. And he's like, that's my title. I'm going to get it back. Roman Reigns coming back and doing the whole heel thing. Like, adding Heyman to that was a nice little, like, addition to that. But I'm just going to say that Roman Reigns coming back the way he did. And honorable mention goes to my boy Sami Zayn for my good for this week. Because any other week he would have gotten my good for return.
I mean, I could have sat there and put like the Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton match at SummerSlam on it. I could have. I mean,
Karrion Kross winning the title.
I mean,
Jesus Christ.
So many good things actually did go on with professional wrestling.
I do like the fact that there was a lot of good that happened this week.
Yeah,
and not the hiccups.
right. So Monsef with Bayern Munich winning the European League. That's his good for this week. I watched most of one of their games last week. I enjoy watching football, aka if you're in the United States, soccer. All right, bad for this week. I am going with Mr. Karrion Kross. Not bad for like as far as something he did. It's my bad because the poor dude wins the title, separates his shoulder, and is on the shelf.
You motherfucker.
Sorry.
You son of a bitch. You take it that shoulder roll, you took it from me. I can't wait to hear what your brainless is.
I don't think you're gonna have the
if we
same
have
one.
the same brainless, I'm walking out. And you're gonna do your brainless, and I'm just gonna leave.
Okay.
I'm just telling you right now. Golly. That was gonna be my bad for this week, the fact that he actually got hurt.
So,
All right, so-
that's my bad for this
Let
week.
me see if I can come up with a really quick bad for this week. Oh, my bad for this week. I'm going to go with the fact that they're putting Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax in a makeshift tag team.
Yeah.
And see, I told you
And
I
they're
could
in the
come up with
title
something.
match.
There's always a backup plan. As Triple H once said, there's always a plan B. I'm going with the makeshift tag team of Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, who have been kind of feuding with each other over the last month or so, definitely the last few weeks. And Nia Jax getting reinstated just so she can team up with Shayna Baszler in a tag team match against one of the more established tag teams in the women's division, Bayley and Sasha. Yes, I know that Bayley and Sasha have been kind of butting heads the last forever, over a year now, but they are the inaugural women's tag team champions. They are two-time tag team champions, and they both were bitchy two-belt bitches. So, and the fact is that it would definitely get my brainless, but it's only getting my bad because they haven't quite yet won the titles.
Right.
So that's why Baszler and Nia Jax as a makeshift tag team gets my bad for this week. What's your brainless?
I'm going with WWE and the fact that they signed a contract with a company to make their music, and they don't like the contract that they signed now at this point because they are no longer in business with those people. And now, because they will have to pay that company money out for using the entrance music for the different folks that they've made entrance music for, they've decided that they're basically going to redo people's entrance music. And what did that do? It gave Keith Lee really shitty entrance music during his debut. Now, if you hear that versus, like, let's say when Bobby Roode debuted with Glorious, you're like, this is a fucking awesome song. Or even when Maria and Mike debuted, yeah, this storyline sucked. But that song was like super catchy, and you're like, all right. Keith Lee, like, they give him genera music and give him all because money.
And it's funny too because it's kind of like what they did with Sheamus. They had that. I mean, Sheamus had one of the greatest entrance songs of all time. Yeah, lobster had too many limes. And even Sheamus misses that song because he even said he's like, I'm not going to do this until they give me my old entrance song back. And I'm like, I fucking love you, Sheamus. Let's get a Guinness sometime. I'll go carbon for carbon with you. But yeah, I get, and that's just, it really does bother me that the fact that they did that. It's like you had this plan that you were going to move on to Keith Lee, making him go to the main roster because you don't want to pay CFO the money that you were paying him to go to the main roster. Obviously, this wasn't something that came up overnight. I don't think Vince McMahon was like, hey, I'm just going to put him over. That's good shit, pal. You had time to come up with a new song. You should have had it already in the bag and ready to go. And I am glad that that's the route that you went because I didn't have to storm out of here.
Yeah.
Because my brainless goes to wrestling fans.
Yeah, they did a lot of shitty things this week.
So, obviously, about a week and a half, a little bit less than a week and a half ago, WWE introduced the Thunderdome, which was where they were going to have wrestling fans kind of stream themselves on screen so that they could all be surrounded in the ring and everything and actually watch wrestling. And I thought it was a very interesting concept. I'm a little bit more on board with it after I've seen and witnessed what the Thunderdome is, and I can't wait until you and I are going to be in the Thunderdome because it's going to happen. I want to be in the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
That means I have to be at WrestleMania 37's Thunderdome. But the fact is that there's been wrestling fans out there who, you had one who put in a KKK rally live on Monday Night Raw. They had somebody who did Chris Benoit, which is just tasteless. And I was going to say Kenny Omega showing up this week, but then I realized that there is part of it that Kenny Omega actually tuned into the Thunderdome. He said that, sorry guys, I was looking for something better to do, and just kind of happened.
Well, there was also a murder that somebody put on there.
I did not know about the murder part.
Yeah. Somebody, there was somebody who, streamed some person getting murdered, and they played that video on one of the damn video boards. And it's like, I understand, all right, WWE does stupid things and haha, we're going to get back at them. That is not the way to get back at them. That is
egregious, unwarranted, unconstitutional.
Well, I don't know about it might be unconstitutional, but it's classless, and it's just really, come on.
And it's every time I try to go out there and give wrestling fans kudos for being really good fans, and I will say that wrestling fans are some of the most, after soccer fans or football, as they know in Europe, I would say after that, wrestling fans are the most passionate fans of all the fan bases. And that's including college football in the South. That's including Kansas City Chiefs fans. That's also including the 912 Whaler fans that are from the state of Connecticut and everything. And you guys go and do some shit like this. And I know this is not the first time that I've named wrestling fans as my brainless. I'm pretty sure it's happened.
It was a couple weeks ago.
And it was a couple weeks ago. This happens more often than not. It's if I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say the same shit about stuff that Vince McMahon does that makes it my brainless, where it's shitty WWE booking, fans are going to be on the receiving end of it too. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm not sorry. Act right. Do the right thing. Don't do stupid shit. I don't want to see fucking Chris Benoit in the fucking Thunderdome. I really don't want to see Kenny Omega in the fucking Thunderdome. And now they're going to have all these restrictions now because you fucking idiots thought it would be funny to do some stupid shit like this.
Yeah. Stop doing that stuff. I think WWE now has somebody watching each feed very closely.
I mean, look, if you wanted to go on there and you were watching it and the two people falling asleep, that was fucking funny. If you want to go on there and pick your nose, that's fucking funny. You want to just go in there and just and eat the entire time, that's good shit, pal. There's certain things
there are children watching. Children watching. So don't do anything that children should not see.
Exactly. Speaking of watching, whether you are a returning fan who's tuned in on a week-to-week basis, or if somebody who came across us and decided you want to check us out to see how we are, and if you like us, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Periscope, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. It has always been our motto. You want to take the second part? I don't like stealing all the thunder.
Thunderdome, brother. The Thunderlips, brother.
What is the other thing that we always tell them that they should do if they love the F and Marks?
Well, they should also go to the Wrestling Marks page, and they should go to facebook.com/WrestleMarks and make sure you set up for when we go live to get notifications so you can tune in and make sure you share it with your friends, and their friends will share it with their friends, and so on and so forth.
And don't forget, if we get 5,000 views on one single episode of the podcast, man will answer and live on the podcast. So make sure, word of mouth, tell your friends to tell a friend 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 to tell a friend.
Yeah.
Wow, that took a lot out of me.
So, Monsep, thank you for tuning in. Chris, thanks for tuning in.
Tommy, as always, thank you for tuning in. You wear that title with pride, being an FMR Hall of Famer. And I know your brother's been pandering to get into.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Aiden. I
But
really appreciate it.
hold on, wait a minute. You're making it seem like the episode's over.
I think it is.
No, it's not.
It's not over?
No, that's because you forgot about the most important thing.
Wait. What are you talking about?
What am I talking about? I'm talking about that today, on August 30th of 2020, at a whopping 1,851 days, Epic Horse Hall of Famer Kross is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So for episode 189 of the Epic Horse Podcast,
I'm Jay.
and I am the brainless one.
Make sure you mark out.
It doesn't matter. He's still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. I don't care that if you think that the less than perfect one didn't even get into the ring, you can't be eliminated if you're not in the match. What's your walkout? Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
See ya.
Tommy, we can go all day, buddy.